unless it's not worked in her contract that she's getting residual from the Disney Plus, I feel like at that point it's just greed.
Well, it's not so much that it wasn't. Well, her contract was based off of theatrical release.
Okay, so then that sucks.
And so now that they put it out in both in theaters and streaming,
yes,
that's where it's like, hey, we didn't agree to this previously, and so that kind of takes a lot out of her potential income.
So that I can get behind, because I was having that conversation with Kat about how like I feel like it's kind of greedy, but I get it if it was not worked into her contract. So if she's not seeing any of the Disney Plus money, I get it. That would suck.
Also, like, is it greedy or that greed?
Well, if she is getting some, right? If it's already worked into her contract, is it she's upset that she wants more? But if you agreed on it.
Yeah, right. But like, yeah. I mean, that's under the assumption that.
Right.
So we kind of hop straight into that, but this is for Scarlett Johansson suing Disney over the Black Widow movie.
Yeah, Disney Plus release.
Because of the Disney Plus release.
Yeah.
But the whole concept is that they there's, from what I read, that it wasn't worked into her contract to account for digital streaming, since like pretty much before this movie, I believe, was probably
set
signed.
For theaters. Yeah, it was set for a theatrical release.
Right, but I imagine this contract was signed far before the
COVID 2021
during the dark times. This was signed in the before times, is my assumption, right?
Life. What do we call that? AD? No, BC.
Yeah. BCV.
BC actually works.
Yeah.
Before COVID.
BC and AC.
That's awesome. Oh, we're still not in AC yet.
That's true.
Yeah. But I know. Okay, so I didn't know, right? Assuming she was already getting dealt money through the Disney Plus deal. If she was suing for more, I'd be like, all right, like, okay, that's kind of greedy. You're still getting money from Disney Plus. Like, you agreed to this contract. But now that I know that it's not worked in, that does suck. Disney does owe her money.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
It's kind of little shifty.
Yeah, absolutely.
Little sus.
Absolutely. But Disney's known for that, so.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Did you watch Black Widow, by the way?
I did.
Did you like it?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was a very good, like, family movie, buddy kind of like duo movie. But the Marvel world could have done without it.
I liked it.
Did you?
I wish they would have dove a little bit deeper into what the Red Room was.
Okay, see,
because they really didn't explain.
I felt like they brushed over it.
They really glossed over the whole, like, this is like an assassin program.
Yeah.
How, and like that they just steal, like, eventually, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you who haven't watched, it's on Disney Plus, $30.
Yeah. And actually, I won't even say this is a spoiler, but it's like they kind of go into like, that they're like stealing children and like deleting parents off of the grid, right? Type of thing. So that way they're like, no one needs to try and find them.
What I also didn't like was the main villain of the Red Room wasn't even Russian. He's either American or English. And I was just like, that doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't have to be Russian to be a...
It's a Russian. It should have been a Russian.
I mean, it should. It kind of, it would fit.
In previous movies, it alluded to being Russian.
Yeah. Well, right, too. And what, like... actually, I was going to say something, but I'm like, I'm not sure enough about the lore to make any comment on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good movie.
I was entertained. I don't think the story was necessary, but I was entertained.
Yeah, because it didn't give a backstory.
No, it didn't.
Like, all of the other, like, side films, like, gave a little bit of a backstory as to, like, who these people are, how they come to be to some degree.
Yeah.
Right? Except for the Hulk, because I think at this point they've tried too many times and they're like, you get it.
Yeah, you know what the Hulk does. We should stop trying to explain this.
Yeah, but they did like a Thor one. They did a Captain America one. They did an Ant-Man.
Yep.
They did... Who else?
Black Panther. Iron Man technically has his own origin. Literally every character.
Except Hawkeye doesn't have one.
Not yet.
They shouldn't. They should just call that one. Like,
I agree, but I believe the premise is to introduce his daughter as the next Hawkeye.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they vaguely did a Black Widow.
Yeah. And what's worse is it wasn't an
did
origin
Doctor Strange.
story. It was a post-Civil War gone into hiding story.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, we know what happens. Can we figure out like how she get like at the end, right? How does she get back in touch with Captain America? Like, tell us that story, or tell us how they are able to get certain people out of areas. Tell us that story,
Well,
or like just throw more there, and then not glaze over the fucking Red Room.
Well, they do go into where like how Black Widow meets back up with Captain America.
I mean, she gets the Quinjet, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where it picks up.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I did the jerk off motion right now.
though, my favorite part of the movie is when her and her sister are in like Budapest.
Yes.
And she goes, "So what's up with all the poses?" And she like gets down.
That-
She's like, "You really just love your poses."
That was so great. I laughed so hard at that. And then when she did it, like at the end, and she was like, nah, not for me. I laughed even harder. I was like, that is great. And then I talked to my sister about it, and I was just like, this is very much like a sibling relationship. Like, this is the perfect definition of like adult siblings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, "What the hell are you doing?"
Yes.
That was awesome. I thought it was good.
I again thought it was entertaining, probably unnecessary. If it would have gone in a little more detail or given a better story, I would have enjoyed it a little bit more.
I would probably say if you don't have to pay for it, do it that way.
Yeah.
Or wait until it becomes free.
Yeah.
Because it really feels like more of a like a filler. Like a filler between movies.
Yes.
Because it doesn't really add any substance to it other than just like kind of introducing a vague background.
Yeah. I guess the one benefit it has is possibly creating the new Avengers or the Revengers or whatever, the where you have, we find out that Scarlet or Black Widow has a sister.
Mm-hmm.
We learn more about her parents, right, in quotes. And then there's two Asian nerds that have their own podcast. They dove in a little bit about how, what's her name from the Falcon Winter Soldier series, how she's like creating her own team. So I was like, that's pretty cool. That's a cool theory that these people are popping up and that's who's actually in it. So yeah, like the Red Hulk, Black Widow's sister, the new Hawkeye. There's just like a whole new team that's like, okay, maybe Marvel does have a plan. Maybe this kind of fit the mold, but I think for the most of us, we were looking at it more of a Black Widow story, and not for the future. And we got a little bit of both, but not enough of one or the other to enjoy it. Well, I didn't. But
We Marissa and I started watching Loki last night.
I love Loki.
So far, so good. I'm on board. Episode 1, and I'm like, all right, I'll watch this.
It just got re-up for season 2.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Which is surprising because neither of the previous ones have. So WandaVision wasn't, and Winter Soldier wasn't.
I could see Winter Soldier being like have a part 2 or a follow up,
But probably not WandaVision.
WandaVision felt like a complete story in one.
I think because WandaVision will tie directly into
The
Doctor Strange 2. Yeah.
The madness
at time.
multiverse of madness. I think
That's
is what it is.
multiverse of madness or madness.
I think
Multiverse.
I think
some shit like that.
I think Omniverse is DC.
That would be
I can't remember.
omnipresent.
But that's cool, right? It's cool to see like Loki in another one. But oh shit, what was I gonna say?
I don't.
I had a comment on. Oh, when we were watching that last night, I was telling Marissa, I'm like, at what point are they gonna kind of stop this?
Mm-hmm.
Because like they've done from the cinematic universe, they've hit like a whole lot of the main, or like they did a gigantic storyline, right? Like 10 years in the making.
Yeah.
Now they're kind of doing these like kind of side offshoots, like low, quote unquote lower production into other, with other things, right? Falcon Winter Soldier. Black Widow was technically a theatrical release, so not that one.
Mm-hmm.
Loki, WandaVision. And me personally, I feel like once they've kind of run the course of these main characters, my interest is probably going to start waning. and I'm going to be less interested in trying. I mean, I'll still watch, but my interest is going to be waning towards like trying to establish relationships with new characters.
Yes, but I think that's the whole premise, right? Because I mean, if we look at Disney money boards are following the money, right? Iron Man's not signed back. Thor's changing characters.
Allegedly.
Hawkeye's not coming back. Black Widow's not coming back, right? Like, so I think we're getting prepared for, I don't know what wave we're in, second, third wave of
it would be phase 4.
Phase 4. So I think we're getting ready to move towards the new Avengers, which would be dope.
Yeah,
would be super dope.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I think it's a question, right?
Yeah.
It's questionable. New Avengers, even as far as I'm aware, and I could be wrong, so I'll accept it. But even from like the comics, like I don't think the New Avengers did all that well, and it kind of went straight back to the original characters that we all know and love.
but I don't think we can do that, right?
You can't.
Yeah, I think this is just a whole new generation, right? So the comic books didn't do very well for the New Avengers, but with the head writers doing so well for Marvel, I feel like they could create a whole new saga or a whole new series for New Avengers versus what the comic books released.
Potentially. I feel like they would have to and this is what they're doing, right? They're going into like now more like cosmic stuff. So we're going to get the Eternals coming up soon.
Yes.
And so that opens up a lot to like more lore to what the Marvel universe is, which I think is cool. Like the cosmic part of Marvel is awesome.
Yeah.
There's so much cool stuff out there, both literally and metaphorically.
Oh, that's another thing too. That was speaking of cosmic and space. Dave Bautista didn't sign back after the next Guardians. He says he's done.
Yeah, I mean these things are running their course.
Yeah,
and they're coming to an end, right? So we'll see effectively the end of Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Unless they do some offshoot where they start to move into other avenues of like space again.
Yeah,
right. Which they can, right? There's, they've already introduced kind of the Nova Corps, so there's an aspect of the Nova Corps that can be really cool. They loosely touched on Space Superman, which is crap. I forget. In the first Guardians of the Galaxy, it was, I think it was the Nova. No, not the Nova Corps. Oh my God, I'm blanking on the names. Who are the gold people? Like the ones that were perfect.
Oh my God, I know who you're talking about now.
I can't remember the name of that species, but it's Adam Warlock.
Oh yes.
So they like alluded to Adam Warlock's existence and has not touched it.
Yeah, so that could be okay. So for those of you following along, it's the people that Rocket stole the batteries from, the golden batteries.
Yeah, I forgot their name
too.
The High Evolutionary.
Yes.
Get at me.
Yes. And then so that I forgot about.
Yeah. So Adam Warlock loosely, he's not Space Superman. He's considered Space Jesus because he can't die, and he literally rebirths whenever he dies. Just like he just pops back into existence.
It's like poof.
So like he gets like reborn whenever he dies.
He's a phoenix
somewhere in the universe. But anyway, he has these like pods, if I remember this correctly. And so that's kind of like the pod that you saw at the end credits. But they never touched on him. Like never brought him back.
That'd be an interesting character to bring in, and I think you would need to time it right.
Maybe.
I don't think there's been anything enough so far to allude that he's coming into play yet.
No. And
Disney is known for their long cons, so
I mean that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he could be something where it's like, if they are going, I mean, it's a safe assumption to assume like New Avengers. So if they go New Avengers, it could be something where he could be like kind of the leader of the New Avengers to a certain degree. Since, he's like wildly powerful.
Yeah. So it's Captain Marvel.
So yeah, Captain Marvel, though, they kind of nerfed her a little bit, but besides the point.
Squirrel Girl. Could you imagine we get Squirrel Girl?
Well, it's too late. The whole reason, the whole thing with like Squirrel Girl that would have been like worthwhile was for the Infinity series. Yeah. Because she's effectively the savior that defeats Thanos in the comics.
Who else could we? Who else is late to the party we could get?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's so many different characters that you can bring out, but just from like at least the cinematic universe that has been like touched on. They're like they never addressed them by name, but the Watchers has showed up, right? And that was like, so I forget which, but I think it was one of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies where they had like Stan Lee talking to like the big-headed alien guys like on an asteroid.
I think it had to be.
Yeah, because that was when Thor was just like floating through space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of whatever it was.
Yeah.
But they kind of like alluded to them, right? So the Watchers exist. So there's a way to kind of you could work
bring
them
them
into
in.
a story,
Yeah.
though they don't really. They're more of like a.
Would you say they just watch?
Kind of, yes, actually. I mean, that's literally their purpose is to watch. Because their whole thing is to not necessarily interfere.
Yeah.
And so they kind of sporadically pop in and out. So we'll see.
One would say they're like Lord Raiden.
Kind of, yeah. But that's also, yeah. So then I haven't made it far enough with Loki.
I won't. So I'm thinking I'm very carefully about what I'm saying because you're only on episode 1.
Yeah.
So
allegedly there's some other cosmic beings, like one of my clients referenced that there's some other cosmic entities that's kind of alluded to.
possibly.
You can say yes. He straight up said it. He didn't tell me who or what because I was like, I haven't watched it yet. Please don't spoil it. But
Then yes.
But he was like, yeah, they allude to something that could show up later. I'm like, okay, cool. Can't wait to see it.
Then yes, there is.
So I'd be very intrigued by that. Like, there's talk. Like, sorry, keep going.
I was gonna say I really like how Marvel is introducing the multiverse because at the beginning of the talks of it, I was like, this is gonna be so confusing for people, like to try and follow along. And I think what Loki series does is helps the brain guide you on what a multiverse looks like in this world.
Yeah.
And I was like, at the end of Loki, I was like, they can do so much now. Now that they made it understood, now that they've set rules, the multiverse is going to be awesome.
I'm very curious to watch, right? Because they've introduced Infinity War or Endgame, sorry.
Endgame, yeah.
Introduced time travel, kind of. And then now from episode 1 of Loki, it's like definitely introduced the idea of like a timeline,
Yeah,
and how there's variance within timelines. And so yeah, there's a whole lot that you can kind of
And then Ant-Man and the Wasp's Quantum Verse is coming out.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another one.
Yeah, yep. So again, now we kind of have this more like time travel-y type of thing.
And supposedly some X-Men are supposed to make some sort of future.
They're not X-Men, they're mutants.
Oh, sorry. Some mutants are supposed to make a crossover.
Did they even call them mutants?
Somewhere down the road.
They didn't know, actually. They didn't even call them mutants when they were talking about Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
No, they called them
I don't remember what they were.
oh my god.
But yeah, because mutant.
I remember the bald guy with the evil German bald guy with glasses says it. What does he call them? I can't. Yeah, he doesn't call them mutants. I forgot what he called them.
No, because that term I think is currently owned by is it Sony? Does Sony make X-Men?
Yeah, I
or
think
is it Warner Brothers?
No, I think it's Sony because it was Sony.
Because Sony owns Spider-Man too,
Yes.
as well, and Fantastic Four.
Yes.
Right, but Fantastic Four, if those rights ever get given,
I mean,
they could pop up.
They're sharing the rights of Spider-Man now, so anything can happen.
It's true.
Anything could happen.
So, there's options.
There is options. I'd be curious. I don't know if I want to say I'd like to see. I'd be curious to see what an X-Men verse and a Marvel verse collision would look like.
Yeah. Well, because then, if we're looking through the lens of X-Men, there's a lot of, like, X-Men specifically have a lot of, like, big bads that they can kind of parlay into. So, or into potentially, like, next big storyline type of thing.
Yeah.
So, there's options. I mean, they're there. But who was I was watching something on YouTube and they were talking about, there's a couple like King the Conqueror was a big one that popped up that they were talking about that would be cool to like see in like the storyline through Spider-Man. There's also like
there's still so many more villains that Spider-Man has. So many more.
Yeah.
I would love to see I would love to see buddy films like Spider-Man and Deadpool and Wolverine.
They needed to do another like comedy. I mean, I could feel Loki being more of like a comedy. Like
Wait
more
till you
funny.
get to the end of it and you'll change your mind.
Not as much.
Not as much.
A little more like serious.
Yeah.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Yeah. It's good. I'm not saying it's bad. The way they finish it off, you're like, damn, this is good. Like
Okay.
I knowing that they signed for a follow-up series or renewal before the last episode, I was like, I can see how this will lead into another series or another season.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because then, okay, I mean that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing more of like another like kind of comedy, right?
Yeah.
Because out of all of the movies, like specifically Marvel movies, like Marvel produced or Disney produced movies, they've all been like lighthearted, but like a little bit more kind of serious with like funny moments within to kind of break up that like tension. Whereas like the Thor Ragnarok was more of like the comedy version of it, right? That was like largely pretty funny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there wasn't much seriousness to that one.
yeah, they're like little moments here and there,
Yeah.
but like it was more haha.
I mean, it started off haha. Like
That's true. So then I'd be interested to see like another one of those.
yeah.
Kind of, I think it's about time.
I could see Love and Thunder being it.
They might be.
Yeah. Guardians 3 well, I don't know.
I guess
'cause-
Guardians of the Galaxy kind of teeters on that line.
But I feel like it's got to come to an end because if you're going to lose half the cast or at least a couple players in that cast after the movie, it's got to have some darkness to it.
Who else is out?
What's his name? Chris
Pratt?
Chris Pratt. I don't think Chris Pratt's out. I think he's on for the ride as long as that goes.
Bradley Cooper.
I don't know if Bradley Cooper's signing back for Rocket. And then I haven't heard. I mean, I doubt Zoe Saldana would turn down Gamora again, but I haven't heard anything.
And then Karen Gillan.
Yeah,
I'd be curious.
I love her.
I'm so happy for her.
Me too.
Because I kind of knew about Karen Gillan because she's like more of like the UK. She's Scottish, I believe.
Is she?
I think so. I could be wrong on that one.
Welsh.
Or maybe Welsh.
I'm just guessing.
But so I kind of a little bit knew about her, but then I also watched Doctor Who.
Scottish, you're right.
Yeah, I know. So I also watched Doctor Who, and then she popped up in one of forget which Doctor she was in. Anyway,
Doctor Who Confidential?
no, it's just Doctor Who. But she was one of the companions in Doctor Who, and I was like, I love you. I was like, you are awesome. She's great.
Yeah.
She was a great companion. And then I saw her in like this like horror movie, and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And then I learned that she was gonna, eventually I learned she was gonna be in what's it called, Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, Karen Gillan, you go.
Yeah, and Jumanji.
Yep, Jumanji.
Her most recent film it's pretty cheesy. I very much enjoyed it for the cheese that it had. Was her new Netflix film called Gunpowder Milkshake.
Never watched it.
It's entertaining.
Okay.
Kat made a note saying that she can't get over the fact that she sounds like Nebula.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could hear it. I could hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to break that. Like, once you play a character so well, that's all you hear, right? Like, for one example, hold on, I'm gonna look up his name real quick.
From where?
My God, I love this dude. Tyrion Lannister. Peter Dinklage.
Oh,
Right? When you see Peter Dinklage literally play anything else, you just go,
the boss from Elf.
that's...
I agree with you.
Call me Elf one more time. No, but yes, no, I remember that role too. But like, I always hear him, and when he speaks, his mannerisms, I'm just like,
Oh man,
that's Tyrion.
That's I think his name's David from the hit movie Twinkle Toes.
Nope, I don't think of that at all.
Do you think about the hit movie of Twinkle Toes
No.
with oh my God, what's his name? Nah, whatever. Some other Gary Oldman. With Gary Oldman,
I love Gary Oldman too.
where he played a dwarf, but walked around with shoes on his knees. That Gary Oldman. The hit movie Twinkle Toes.
Are we thinking about the same movie?
Oh no, it's not an animated film.
I'm looking up Twinkle Toes the movie.
Oh no, it's Tiptoes. Tiptoes is the name of it.
Okay. Don't look up Twinkle Toes.
Sorry, Tiptoes. Just look up Tiptoes.
Tiptoes. Yeah, 2003. With Matthew McConaughey.
Yep.
Is that Rachel McAdams?
No.
Who is that?
It's the other one that looks like Rachel McAdams.
Oh, I'm gonna slap myself. That's Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah.
I'm gonna slap myself.
Kate Beckinsale, Gary Oldman,
Matthew McConaughey,
Peter Dinklage,
Patricia Arquette, Debbie Lee Carrington, David Alan Grier.
Yeah. Star-studded cast.
A huge cast.
Which, like, if you watch the trailer, okay, I'll link the trailer into this because it's the most ridiculous film you could possibly think of. But the trailer for it starts off with like Matthew McConaughey and I think the love interest is it Patricia Arquette? I can't remember. No. Patricia Arquette is Peter Dinklage's
It's got to be
girlfriend.
Kate Beckinsale. Then.
Yeah, it's Kate Beckinsale.
Yeah.
So it's like Matthew McConaughey, Kate Beckinsale, like dating. They're falling in love, and she's pregnant, and she doesn't know about his family, and so he's like, "Well, I got something to just tell you," and so they show up to like his parents' house, and like this is the trailer,
yeah,
and it's like Gary Oldman behind like a little counter, be like, "Hey," and she's like, "Your family are dwarves." Or I think they actually say midgets, and she's like, "They're not midgets, it's dwarves."
It's elves.
and then it's just this like ridiculous fest of, and then like his parents show up and they're like uncomfortable at the fact that all of them are like small.
Yeah,
it's so insane. Like from the lens of the future, right? You look at this movie and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, how is this a thing? Yeah. And he's like French for some reason.
What?
Yeah. He's got like a weird, like real questionable French accent.
Oh my God.
The film is absolutely unrealistic.
I love that. That's,
yeah.
This is going to be one of the pictures. This has got to be a picture for our post.
And at the end of the film, or at the end of the trailer, it goes, and in a role of a lifetime, Gary Oldman. And I like, shit you not, it's him walking around on his knees with like shoes strapped to it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like that's how they did that movie. It's so insane.
A role of a lifetime, I guess.
So like if I had any reason to ever get into like journalism, I would want to get into it just so I can somehow talk to one of the like either
and just ask
and be
them.
like, hey, so you have a long storied history of like acting and like stage performance, TV shows like that are some of the most popular in the world or in history. Why Twinkle Toes?
Yeah.
Or Tiptoes.
Tiptoes, yeah.
Or no, I would say, where would you rate Tiptoes amongst like, and this would be safe for Peter Dinklage, be like amongst, Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
Elf, Thor,
Literally anything else that you've done.
any of those other things that you've done, where would you rank Tiptoes? Because so I think you can find it for free online. I think it's on YouTube. So who knows?
Yeah.
If I can find it on YouTube, I will link that out so you can watch it.
Oh my God.
But it's not good. If you couldn't guess what I was gonna get
From the pictures, it just looks cringe. Just super cringe.
You should watch it.
Oh my God.
Because it's even way cringier.
Should I be high or drunk watching this, or
No, do it stone sober.
Oh God.
You might be able to do it. Maybe like you don't want to be like too messed up watching it.
Yeah.
Because it's like you don't want to get too lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
But like watch it enough of it, like just a little bit, where you're kind of like having a good time.
Okay.
Because it sucks.
I'll give it a try. I'll give it 5 minutes.
Film sucks. No, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch it all.
I don't know, man. If it doesn't catch my attention in the first 5, I usually pass.
I'm telling you, it's a bad movie.
Well, then I
it's
don't
not
want to watch
going
it.
to.
I don't
It's
want
not
to
going.
watch a bad movie.
You have to watch it for the absurdity of it. It's like all of those like bad movies that are like so bad they're good type of things where you're like, whoa man, but like okay, I'm in it for the ride.
What was that one? Those two honkies. They try to save those kids or those teenagers from like murder, but they end up killing themselves. Dave and something.
Oh, Tucker and Dale
Tucker
versus
and Dale.
Evil.
Yes. Was it that cringy but funny or
No, that movie wasn't cringy.
Okay, I loved that movie because it was stupid, but it was hilarious.
So for anybody who apparently this is just going to be a movie episode, so I'm cool with that. So for anybody who hasn't watched Tucker and Dale versus Evil, you absolutely have to watch it. So with zero spoilers, it's set up as, the classic horror movie of you have the stoner, you have the jock, you have, the dumb blonde, the kind of stereotypes of what horror films are. Going on a road trip to a cabin out in the woods, right? Because it's spring break or whatever the case was. And they run across these two hillbillies, right? Who have they have a weird first interaction, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So you kind of sets the stage of okay, it's going to be kind of one of those horror movies. What ends up happening is they flip the script, and so now it's from the perspective of these two hillbillies, this might be a little bit spoilery. So if it is, maybe fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
But they flipped it from the perspective of these two hillbillies now, where they're just hillbillies.
Yeah. They're just living their days.
And they're just living their life. And they are just doing their thing, but because these kids are paranoid, thinking that they're trying to kill them, calamity ensues. And the best part about this entire there's two things from that movie that are just absolutely hilarious, right? The first one is where he's like, man, she's really beautiful. I want to go talk to her. And he's like, go talk to her.
Yeah.
And so he the guy casually tries to stroll up, playing it cool, and freaks out and gives a weird one line, and then just turns around. He's like, I'm so stupid. I messed up. And then so then throughout the film, the kids these kids keep accidentally dying. And so the cops eventually show up, and he's like, Sheriff, I'm glad you're here. These kids just showed up and started killing themselves all over our property. And it's
true.
And it's 100% true. So it's kind of this it's similar in essence to Cabin in the Woods, where it's a joke on the the tropes of horror films, but in a comical way.
Yeah. Not so much horror and scary.
It's definitely not horror and scary. There's definitely some gore and there's some violence to it.
Yeah.
But it's not it's not gratuitous in the sense of somebody in a traditional horror film where somebody is killing somebody else or something is killing somebody. It's accidents are happening and you just kind of accidentally fell into a wood chipper.
Yeah.
Or you kind of accidentally impale yourself on a tree.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was a good movie.
Have you seen Cabin in the Woods?
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods is also I think that movie is so underrated.
I saw Cabin in the Woods, and then what was the series that they did on Showtime? Versus the Dead.
Ashes
versus Evil Dead, or Ash versus
yeah. So
I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah, well, so that's based off of the Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God, something Campbell.
I wanted to say Nev Campbell. No,
Nev Campbell. Bruce Campbell.
Is it
Campbell?
Bruce?
Oh, I don't know. Bruce Campbell. Is that the name of the character?
No, that's
it's Ash.
It's Ash
something.
Fuck.
This is gonna kill me. I should know this, but anyway, yeah. So the Evil Dead was kind of
created by Sam Raimi.
Yeah. But who was the original?
Bruce Campbell.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, I was right.
Yeah. His name is Bruce Campbell.
In what? The actor is Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Man, I am all mixed up.
Yeah, the actor is Bruce Campbell. His character's name is Ash Williams.
Okay. All right. I'm way off.
Yeah.
Who was the director of the original Evil Dead?
Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi did both?
Yeah, he did director and screenplay.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. You go, Sam Raimi. Again, should know this.
You go, girl.
But yeah, so the Evil Dead was kind of that similar thing where it was just like this ridiculousness, like ridiculous, like comedy, like comical version of like a horror film, like a zombie movie. And it's just like, well, zombie-ish.
Undead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Undead is a better way to describe it.
Yeah.
But it's like just absolute absurd.
It's hilarious.
And it's awesome. It's so good. Yeah, and so Bruce Campbell was the original, like played Ash originally in Evil Dead, and then he came back and played, I think it was Ash versus Evil? Is that something like that?
So, are we talking about the show?
Yeah.
So there was Evil Dead.
It was a movie.
Then Evil Dead 2.
This is another movie.
And then it was Army of Darkness.
Another movie.
And then it was Evil Dead, the remake. And then it was Ash versus Evil Dead.
Ash versus Evil Dead.
That was
the
the
show.
series, yeah.
Yeah. Again, all of those are absolutely phenomenal.
They're hilarious.
Definitely watch for like just the campiness of it. They're just ridiculous. I think it's Evil Dead where towards the end there's like this scene where it's just like he's running around chainsawing this like family, and they had like fire hose levels of like fake blood being pumped into through these people. I think this is it. It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, but I just remember this. I remember this one scene, and there was like such gratuitous amounts of like fake blood being shot, like rocketing out of these like characters that they had to do a lot of like reshoots or something because the floor was so slippery from fake blood that like people were just falling.
I could believe it.
But yeah. I just remember this. I remember like watching this like chainsaw go into the like a first person like shooter style view of like chainsaws, and it's just like yeah, like there had to have been like huge water
gallons,
like gallons of fake blood being like think of like when somebody hits a fire hydrant and it just like explodes water like geyser style out of the ground. That was the like level of blood shooting out of things.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It was so stupid. But just absolutely amazing. That speaking of bunch of blood, that reminds me, I recently I just re-downloaded. It's called Bands in Town.
Bands in Town.
It's an app for like shows.
Oh, okay.
Since like concerts and stuff are like starting to come back up, and I was like, ooh, let's see some live music again. Yeah. And when I was kind of scrolling through, Gwar popped up.
Gwar.
Do you know who they are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and speaking of blood, it reminded me, like, I went to a Gwar show once.
Oh, Jesus.
And we were, like, a little bit more towards the front of the stage, kind of. But they, like, same style, like, rocket.
With a cannon, right?
Like, cannon-propelled fake blood out into the stands. Or out into the crowd. And I remember coming back, like, leaving that show with, like, dozens of people just red, and like it was so much so that like I had to throw out my contacts because my contacts were red.
No,
because it like
I
got blasted in the face with like a fire hose worth of like fake blood. It's like from you ever see UHF?
No,
a Weird Al film. Yeah, there's like it's time to drink from the fire hose. He's like open wide, and he like opens the thing and it like shoots this kid across the stage.
Hell yeah.
So that's kind of what it felt like. I was like, oh God. My eyes.
God, did that burn?
Yes. Yeah, it didn't feel great.
Imagine if somebody called the cops because like a dozen people were just covered in what looks like blood.
Well, eventually learned that was a warning that we like essentially signed up for when we like bought tickets.
Show, yeah.
That it was like, be prepared. You're probably gonna get sprayed with fake blood.
Also, be prepared. You're probably gonna get stopped by the police.
There was like a cult mass like homicide suicide pact going on somewhere in the city. There was it's similar to like Blue Man Group right? Like if you're
close enough, they got the paint and shit all over.
Yeah, they shoot the paint or like bananas.
Yeah,
like out of their chest.
Yeah.
So
have you seen the Blue Man Group?
Yeah, I got to go for my birthday.
I saw them once. They were very entertaining.
That was awesome. It was so much fun. From what I remember, it was a long time ago. It was like right when they first came to Chicago, and I got a pair. I got a pair of like drumsticks. So I was all stoked because I was like, oh, I got like neon drumsticks, and I got an autograph. But I don't know if this is how they always do it. But I walked up like little Ryan. I was like, can I have an autograph? Because they were like out in front, and he like takes it and just pushes his forehead onto like the picture of them. And so there's just a little blue like ring, and he hands it back to because they don't talk, right? And then he hands it back to me, and I was like, what just happened?
That's so awesome.
Like, right? Because they're deadpan, right? No, like they don't really make facial images or facial like features, and just like pushed it into his forehead and then hands it back to this like 9-year-old kid. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. They are on another level
cool,
of entertainment, man. I think I saw them at, this is going to be a throwback. I saw them at Wango Tango at Dodger Stadium.
The hell is a Wango Tango?
So it was a big concert that Kiss FM used to put on.
Have we talked about this before?
I don't think so. We talked about other concerts, but I don't think we talked about Wango Tango.
Okay.
Yeah. We talked about that one concert when I won the Powerhouse tickets as a kid.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's what that was.
Yeah.
I was like, you talked about some show before.
Yeah. No, Wango Tango was like a one-day Lollapalooza.
Okay.
Yeah. Big stadium show. It was at Dodger Stadium, and then they had like a couple like parking lot shows, big retails or merch areas, food and shit. But it was, God, who was there? It was the Backstreet Boys. It was NSYNC. It was Usher.
98 Degrees?
I think 98 Degrees. All the boy bands, all the girl bands, except for Spice Girls. They were not there. I was very disappointed.
Who sung Liquid Dreams? Was that 98 Degrees? Or is that O-Town?
That sounds like more it would be an O-Town song than it would be a 98 Degrees song. Liquid Dreams?
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly what you think it is, by the way. I feel like it's O-Town.
There's a movie called Liquid Dreams.
Nope.
Liquid Dreams by O-Town.
O-Town. Yep. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Let me see.
O-Town, Liquid Dreams. I love it. The 90s were a wild time.
I dream about a girl who's a mix of Destiny's Child, just a little touch of Madonna's wild style, with Janet Jackson's smile, throw in a body like Jennifer, you got the star of my liquid dreams.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, it's exactly what it's a
liquid dreams.
It's a very weak analogy.
Liquid dreams, my liquid dreams, waterfall and streams, these liquid dreams. Oh my God.
Have you ever heard this song?
No.
I'd say I'd like because we talk about it, I'd like throw it in as like our intro song, but every time I do that, I get a copyright claim.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So like, yeah. But anyway, as an aside from like, we'll get back to your Wango Tango, but I remember I was with my friend Brendan when I was younger, and we went to Best Buy, and his little sister wanted the O-Town like thing.
Yeah.
Or CD, or I guess maybe it might have been cassette at that point in time. And we were playing it on the way back, and they were playing Liquid Dreams. And like at that point I was like just old enough where I learned about wet dreams. And I was like, this is what this song's about. And I was like, how are they allowed to sing about this? This is so like dirty and taboo.
Yeah.
And then I grew up and I go, it's nothing.
Yeah, that ain't shit.
Oh boy, did we get a little bit more liberal. Boy, did we get more liberal with our music.
I'm just reading these fucking lyrics and I'm like, how? Same thing. How did they get away with this back then?
I don't think that song, I can't remember. I don't know if that song was ever on the radio.
I never heard it on the radio. This is a song I would remember. I never heard it on the radio.
I mean, O-Town starts getting, at this point in time,
O-Town has probably
a little
like
obscure.
2 or 3 good radio songs. I've never heard anything else.
I don't know that I know another O-Town song other than that. At least I can't name one. But, so Wango Tango.
Liquid Dreams. Jesus
so
fucking Christ.
So Wango Tango, kind of boy band, girl band
yes,
type of thing.
Very much everything of the 90s.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Was it kind of like Radio Disney-esque?
No, they didn't censor any of their music. There wasn't a very like you just gotta perform for kids. It was
Kind of an all ages
kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see.
What else are you looking up?
Just their other songs.
Yeah. What's like the popular O-Town song? I feel like it's Liquid Dreams. I remember the video as well.
It might be.
It kind of was like reminiscent of not In the End. Is it In the End? Yeah, the
Linkin Park
the
song.
Linkin Park song, because it kind of looked like water and like industrial-esque.
Let's see. All or Nothing has 53 million hits. Liquid Dreams has 8 million hits. We Fit Together and The Painter.
The Painter.
Yeah. Oh, this is they came out in 2001. Holy fuck.
I like with stuff like that, I kind of still consider they have a song from 2014.
They have a song
2019.
they have an album from 2019.
Oh. Interesting.
I'll have to listen to this afterwards.
The OTWN album. The albums are just called O-Town, O-Town 2. I don't know, Lines and Circles.
That's a different name.
Is that X? Is that a weird way of saying X's and O's, or is it a Morse code thing?
Probably Morse code.
Actually, it wouldn't be Morse code because there's no circles in Morse code.
Beep, 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 beep.
But
I'll have to give this a listen afterwards because now that I'm looking at it, I don't think I remember any O-Town songs.
Oh, well, we'll play it after we do that, after we finish. But it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be so good.
Oh my god. They were awesome already.
I don't know.
I think I did. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
My brain. It's been quite a
week for you.
Quite the week. Though I'm not gonna go into too much detail here, but I got to visit your favorite place.
I know, man.
Hawaii.
I know.
Or sorry, Hawaii.
Hawaii. Thank you.
I learned a lot
Did
about
you?
it
In that short time?
in like my 48 hour window of being there.
It doesn't surprise me that you would take the time, as little as it was, to show interest and learn about stuff over there. So I think if and when we go back,
It's not an if, it's a when.
When we go back, it's got to be at least a week, and by week I mean 7 days, not 5. A week to 10 days. I think you will take advantage of it and learn a lot, but I think you would appreciate it more being able to relax and kind of just take it slower, because you're a very always on the ball kind of guy. I think going there and not having any worries whatsoever, your mind might freak out a little bit, but
no, I could relax. It's like, so I never really had like much intention of going to Hawaii because I'm not a beach person, right? And I know that there's more to Hawaii than a beach, but like that's the thing people
vibe,
think about,
the idea,
yeah. And so I'm like, I don't like to travel to a beach thing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, when I don't even go to the ocean over here, and I'm like really close to the coast, I like hard pass.
Yeah.
But I flew into Honolulu. I didn't really get to. I mean, I didn't do anything in Honolulu. I was there for less than 12 hours.
Oh. Yeah.
And so I didn't really like get to see much, other than just like the drive from point A to point B.
Yeah.
And then back. The one that I found really, I'm very interested. A little more interested in is the Big Island.
Yes.
Right. So we were in Hilo, and just from the start, right? The one because when we got in late, and the thing that I found really intriguing was I was like, "What's up with the lights here?" And the guy that was driving was like, "Oh yeah, because of the observatory." And I was like, "Yep, that's right. There's the astronomy, there's I guess research center up there in Hilo." And he was like, yeah, so the actual like white lights mess with like the telescopes and like the observations. Mm-hmm. And so they have these like dim lit yellow lights, which makes everything look like a horror movie.
Yes, it looks creepy at night.
It's super weird.
Yes.
And so, but I was like, okay, that's super cool. And I knew about the observatory. So like, when we go back, that's definitely like,
you want to go see that?
Super high on my list of like places that I want to go visit.
Yeah.
Just because science is awesome.
And we can go obviously we're going to go to the beach, but there's so many hikes, so many rivers to paddle and kayak. There's so many waterfalls we can hike to, jog to. Like there's just so much more shit inland on the island?
Hold on. How are you going to passively throw out jog to as if we're going to jog to anywhere?
Because knowing you, Mr. Fitness America, you like to work out constantly.
I like to work out, but I'm also not interested in like. I'm also the person who's like, I love doing my fitness.
Except on vacation.
And then not using it in any other capacity of my life.
All right, then we'll walk.
Yeah.
We'll hike.
Very-
We'll wobble.
We'll hike. I'm cool with walking, kind of. Hate walking places, if I'm being honest.
Well, we can paddleboard or kayak.
Sure, I'm cool with that. Like, right, something that's I've never done those.
Yeah,
so
let's
that'd be
go
fun.
up the river.
The
Rivers.
rivers. Is it rivers or streams?
If it comes from a waterfall, it's a.
Is it a river?
I don't know.
Would
I would think it's a river.
my geography? Would it be a
Geography?
yeah? Would geography be a
I
part
think
of
it would
it?
be
Fall into that?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the differences would be from like a stream, a river, a tributary.
I think it's. I actually. Okay. I think I know this because I took oceanography and I took all this other shit. I think it's the width of the body of water.
not the origins of it.
Right. Well, I think the origins has something to do with it, but like the Mississippi River, right? The origin is like somewhere in the middle of the fucking country.
North.
Yeah.
It's like a tiny little.
Right, but there's no body of water above it feeding it,
Correct.
except for maybe a waterfall
I don't believe it's a waterfall.
or a big ass waterfall.
Definitely not a big ass waterfall. I'm pretty sure it like just kind of
It just
randomly flows
shows
out.
up,
Yeah, and then it just like gradually
Water.
grows.
spewing out of the ground.
I should know this, given that's like a huge part of what a big thing that you learn about.
Delta is the end of a stream or river that flows into the ocean. That's a delta.
where it like
Yeah.
it opens up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because then, yeah, okay.
I think a creek is something that's very shallow but has water running through it. A stream is probably. Oh no, maybe it's depth instead of width.
Your guess is as good as mine, man.
I
have
can't
no idea.
remember. I took oceanography in high school, and then I took oceanography like my first year, second year PCC. So I can't remember. It's so long ago. If you would ask me then, I would have every answer for you.
Got it.
I could tell you everything about a body of water.
I don't know.
Is water wet?
Maybe. It does. Is water itself wet, or does it take the act of touching it to then therefore become wet?
That is the greatest definition. I tried to give that definition to my sister.
So
I don't think water itself is wet, because wet is more of a description rather than.
yeah.
Yeah.
You were bringing up cringe earlier. Is cringe a thing that exists by itself in isolation, or does cringe have to be observed in order for it to be cringy?
Ooh. I think it has to be observed.
Right. So it's the like right some of the philosophical concepts. Right?
Yeah.
You talk about like if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound?
Right.
Does sound exist only because because an observer can observe it, or can sound exist in isolation?
Yeah. Because we would never know.
You can't. No.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Now, so here's
It's like Schrodinger's cat.
science, right? If we leave a microphone out there, is the sound?
But that's an observer. That's an
That
observer.
would be counted as the observer.
Yeah. Something is observing.
Got it.
Um.
So you think trees just notice us and they're like, "Oh fuck, I gotta make a noise." Ah, crack.
Ooh. Wish that was the sound that they would make.
That would be great.
You're just like in like you're hiking through the rainforest or whatever, and just you hear a faint sound in the distance, like ooh. You're like, oh man, another tree fell. Or just like at night, it's just like ooh, ooh, ooh.
Oh my god!
Like, oh my god, what's happening?
Tree orgy.
Yeah, that too. What's the other one? So I remember when I was I took a philosophy class, and it's it's the idea. Yeah, it was talking about the idea of observation, and so there's like, oh man, I can't fully remember, but there's like this joke. There was a joke that was like kind of circulated a little bit on the around the internets, right? And it was like in a philosophy class, and Oh shit. Okay, hold on. It's coming back to me. I think. Therefore, I am. Just kidding. This is beside the point. Rene Descartes. But it's I think it was a Plato thing, or either Plato or
Gelatin.
What?
Just kidding, because you said Plato.
Oh, Plato.
Yeah, right. I know.
It was either. I think it was Plato that was referencing this, but they were talking about, like, I think it's in reference to the forms with the capital F, and so it's it again goes back to the idea that, like, does something exist if it's not observed? So, like, if you were to, right, it's the idea of, like, how with a baby, for example, they don't understand the concept of like things being behind things.
Yeah.
So when you cover your face and you do the whole, like, peekaboo thing, it's kind of this, like, your face literally disappears from existence, and they're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And then it magically reappears.
They're like, oh God.
They're like, holy crap, your face is back.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you were to take a chair, put it behind a desk, but you can't see it, you can't observe it, how do you know that chair is in existence?
Because I put it there.
But if you walk away, is it still there?
I would imagine if nobody moved it, I'd still be there.
How do you know? How can you prove that?
Put a camera.
Ooh, you observe it.
Yes.
The observation is the act of proving that something exists.
Powers of observation.
And so, like, I guess we're tangenting, right? So I reference, like, Schrodinger's cat, and so Schrodinger's cat is kind of a similar concept of, like, there's to a certain degree that there's some inherent flaws in scientific practice because it requires observers to see what's happening. Mm-hmm. So if you're not familiar with the Schrodinger cat experiment, allegedly it's not a real experiment. So the idea is, like, the experiment was theorized as you have a box, you take within that box is a vial of, poisonous, like a poisonous gas. I think that's what it was, or some sort of, like, something that would kill you. Connected to that vial is essentially a random number generator. And when it randomly hits a number, it will break the vial and expose the substance within. Then you take a cat and you put the cat inside the box and you close the box. So there is a completely random or seemingly random aspect to when or if this vial will break, and if and when this cat will die. So because you can't observe the existence of the cat, you can then therefore argue that the cat is both dead and alive at the exact same time.
Jesus Christ.
And the only way that you can prove one or the other is to open the box. And the act of observation is what proves or disproves the theory that you're making.
My brain hurts.
Right? Philosophy.
God.
It's fun. This shit's fun for
so
me.
if I hid in a box, you could argue that I'm neither here nor there.
Correct. To a certain degree, yes.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're, like, in reality, we are relying on we rely on past experiences to understand the world around us, right? And that's how we can make snap judgments, and we can kind of figure things out essentially on the fly, because we're not actively figuring it out. We're pulling from resources of things that we've either figured out or observed or learned in the past. So my assumption then is, like, I watch you go into box, therefore you are in box. It's kind of like how magic works to a certain degree. Like, if you fool the senses of the mind, where you go, I watched a person go into the box. I didn't see them come out, so therefore they're in the box. Mm-hmm. And then through magic,
they're gone.
They're gone. They're not there anymore. Or it's somebody else. Or now it's a tiger. Like, whatever the case may be.
It's still me, the tiger.
And Eric is still the tiger. Yeah. El Tigre.
Yes. El Tigre.
And so, is that tiger in Spanish?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same in Italian too.
Tigre?
Yeah, except it's il.
Il tigre.
Il tigre.
But you say it with your hand.
Yeah, actually two.
Oh.
Specifically with tiger, you have to do two hands.
Tigre.
But so my assumption, right, is that you're there, but at the same time,
I'm not.
There's a way to argue that you aren't.
So seeing really is believing.
Maybe believe half of what you see and none of what you hear.
Yes. Wait, now we got to go back into hearing?
Oh,
fuck.
It just all comes down to observation. Speaking of observation,
Yes.
going back to Hilo, I would definitely want to go to that observatory.
Observatory.
So that's for sure on my my high bucket list.
Yeah.
Well, not bucket list, but like high list of things. But yeah, dude, like you've been before, and you definitely know more about it than I do. So I'd be more inclined. I'm like inclined to just like go along for the ride, and obviously I do a little bit of my own research, but I'd be like, yeah, I want to go here, I want to go there, whatever the case is.
Right.
So I'm down to go, have some fun.
Bam.
I was telling Marissa, I was like, I think of all the people that'd be willing to travel with, you would definitely be like highest on my list of like people that I feel like I can trust to travel with.
Yeah, hell yeah. Also, let me put this out there first. I have never been to the Big Island as an adult, so it'd be an adventure for both of us.
Hey, let's go. Sign me up.
Yeah. So I'm in.
I love it.
Son of a bitch.
So, Sanchez, you son of a bitch. I'm in. Though speaking of observation, again, and astronomy, the concept of like astronomy is so crazy, right? I think we
wait. Astronomy is the study of stars,
like stars, space.
Astrology is
made up shit.
Basic
made up
girls
shit that you're
looking at their astrological symptoms.
Signs, yeah.
No, symptoms.
Oh, symptoms works too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whenever Mercury's in Gatorade, you know that something bad's about to happen.
You know that I ate this bag of Doritos because my stress levels were peaking through the Sailor Moon.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fuck. I fucking hate astrology.
But just like from a space, right?
Astronomy. Which one is it? Which one do I know?
Astronomy.
I don't like astronomy.
You like astronomy.
I like astronomy.
You don't like astrology.
I don't like astrology.
Astrology is that like the where the stars were in relation to when you were born somehow relays your personality and like existence through time.
Somebody needs to get slapped. Yeah, I don't know. Backed into the astrology.
In that astrology.
Astrology.
But space.
Yeah.
The final frontier.
These, sorry.
Go ahead.
Are the voyages of the USS Enterprise.
So
the crew. Wait.
I think it's the crew of the USS Enterprise.
USS Enterprise.
So with like the telescope, something that's just like crazy to think about. So one, from like a human race, I think it's really hard to conceptualize space.
Yeah.
Because the vastness is so far outside of what we can most people have ever probably either thought about or tried to like comprehend.
Yeah.
Because the distances are so grand and so large that like we can't do that, right? Yeah. We can conceptualize what like a foot looks like. When it starts getting longer, we can kind of start to conceptualize, say like
you get a yard,
say like a football field.
Yeah,
you're like you probably roughly get there. A mile, it gets a little bit tougher.
Yeah, visually anything beyond a mile, you're like, fuck, how far is that?
Yeah, well, it's hard to see at that point.
Yeah,
too. So,
but yeah, the fathoms of space, you're just looking out. You're like, someone tells you, oh yeah, that's 1,000,000 light years away. You're like, what? Yeah. Here's a fun fact for those who don't know. Stars that we see typically are dead if they're blinking at us.
Well, so that's what I was going to get at. Well, not if they're blinking.
Right? Isn't it if they're blinking, they're like fading?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay. Well, some stars that we see at night are already dead and the light is getting to us millions of years later. Just a fun fact.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to get at was like, so when we look at like blinking stars, there's usually when we see that shimmering, it's because of the light gets like refracted as it's coming through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so it kind of gives that like blinking or shimmering effect. So it's not necessarily true.
Or as you fairy tale lovers call it, twinkle.
Or twinkle.
Yeah.
So then, but yeah, that concept is crazy, right? So a light year, like, right, define these things. So a light year is how the distance it takes for light, the distance of light traveled across 1 year. Mm-hmm. And light speed, the speed of light, is essentially 3 million meters per second. Mm-hmm. So that's already something that we can't conceptualize.
Yeah. Well, especially in America because we don't know what the fuck a meter is.
Yeah. Roughly 3 feet. Right. So roughly 3 feet. So you're thinking
9 million feet.
Roughly 9 million feet per second. Right. And I don't remember what the circumference of the Earth is, but it's like, it's a ridiculous amount of times around the Earth in a single second.
Yeah.
So then if you think about, attempt to even conceptualize how many seconds are in a year is like, it's insane, the distance that something can travel. So now you're thinking, okay, like how I don't remember how far our sun is from
us?
Earth. Well, I guess we can just look it up really quick. You want to take a quick guess?
300 million miles.
300 million mile. A distance of 94 million miles.
All right, that was close.
Right.
It's only 206 off.
It's
a couple hours in 405 traffic.
Yeah. So that's what I say? 300?
No, I said 300.
What did I say?
94.
94. So 94 million miles or 0.00001581 light years.
That's insane.
So that's what, 10th, 100th, 1000th, 10,000th. That's 1.5 100,000th of a second for light to travel.
It's faster than me snapping.
Yes. So now we think it's it's faster than we blink.
Yeah.
It's faster than like the spinal reflex that we have.
Yeah. Any neurons firing off in us or electrons firing, it's fast.
It's we can't conceptualize it for the most part.
Only Sonic the Hedgehog, the Flash, and arguably Superman.
Yeah. So now, like you were just talking about, like things that are like
And Goku,
obviously.
Yeah.
When he's in Super Saiyan God,
Right.
or Super Saiyan Blue.
Yes.
So then when we go to, you think of like our nearest galaxy, right, which is like 100 light years away.
Yes.
So that is like quintillions worth of miles away. So when we're observing these stars, because light takes so long for them to get to us, we are literally looking at the past. We're looking at, so if it's like, I'm not going to attempt to figure out the conversions on the fly.
No, don't.
But like, if we're going to say like, say it's 100 light years away, which is equal to 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So like with every time that we're observing a single star, we're getting essentially 1,000 years in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So at this current moment in time, and this is just like how how weird observations can work. At this very moment in time, there is a very high likelihood that a star that we are looking at does not actually or physically exist anymore, but we're seeing the remnants of their light coming back to Earth.
Yeah.
And so at some point in time, it's going to pop out of existence.
Yeah. It'll stop
twinkling. We'll watch the explosion.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
yeah. And we won't even know. We won't even know what it is because it's so far.
Maybe.
Well, we won't. Like scientists who are observing it, yes. But.
Yeah. Well, maybe, right? So there was there's an actual historical reference, and this is from like thousands of years ago, I think, of some civilization like recounting this like giant explosion, essentially of like giant flash of light that essentially lit up the night sky. And that was essentially, they saw the star exploding.
Wow.
And so that was the light getting to us because it was so bright. I wish I could remember what it is, but yeah, you can like, there's like carvings that depict this. It might've been Egypt maybe, or something like that. Or maybe like Mesopotamia, something like old ancient
That'd be
civilization.
Cool.
But yeah, so there is the legitimate chance that like
we could see it.
We could, with our own eyes,
that'd be scary.
Watch
as fuck.
a star explode.
That'd be scary as fuck.
It'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But like that. Speaking of observation and just like that concept, like that's such a wild concept to think about. Is that like what we are observing no longer exists, yet we can see it because the vast distance that it is away from us is further than how quickly light can travel. In like say a single second or a single year or even decades or centuries potentially. And so that's this really interesting concept. And so even going further into space, right? We have kind of this rough map of what we can see and kind of this idea of like what the vastness of our solar system looks like.
Yeah.
And so, and you can like see this, right? And there's kind of these like, the overall idea of like not our solar system, but the universe, right? Space. And there's an argument to be made that that they call it the observable universe because there's a high likelihood that there are things so far out away from us because we don't know what what an edge looks like.
Yeah.
That there are things beyond what we can currently see that light just hasn't traveled to us yet. So there's a high likelihood that we're going to be like, as time progresses and we continue to observe the stars, and then hopefully technology progresses and we travel outside of the Terra, that we're going to be able to see more things.
Yeah.
Right. Because then there's also like within space, we have something called like the heliosphere. And there's something called the Oort cloud that are kind of like these shields and like these like magnetic shields that exist like into our essentially the outer limits of our solar system. So there's like things that we might not see.
Yeah.
Right. There's kind of this like weird bubble that like largely exists around our universe. It's called the Oort cloud, which is kind of cool. It's like these like really highly charged particles, which was interesting, right? When like Voyager 1 and 2, which were these like deep space observational like satellites, like made their way through. They're just like, what is it?
Yeah.
Because like
we don't know.
We kind of like roughly know that it exists, but like nothing's been there.
Yeah.
So, end rant. Yeah. It looks,
So
it looks
I
like you
was
have
looking.
something to say.
I was looking up all the things that we were talking about seeing a star, and they've actually been recorded in 4,500 plus or minus 4,500 to 1,000 plus or minus BC history. Like they were recorded on sketches or stones in China, Egypt, Iraq, Italy, Japan, Switzerland, France, Syria, and North America.
There you go.
But the more predominant notations are from Egypt.
Yep.
And then one astrologer from back then had determined that the light was, or the star that they saw was 7,100 light years from Earth. Like, again, if we did the math, let's just say it was 1,000 per one.
Yeah.
Like, fuck.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of like bubbles and other more space science shit.
Let's go.
Did you read, and I haven't followed up yet, but did you read up on the scientists being able to observe light through black holes or at the back of black holes?
No, I haven't, but I know that there's a really good video. Sorry, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say they tested it out with X-rays instead of like trying to use like telescopes to see, because I guess the magnetic pull through black holes is so strong that everything just gets twisted and tambled. So they used X-ray vision essentially, and were able to find particles of light in the black hole.
Yeah, so there's an idea with black holes. So like Interstellar actually did a really good job at kind of depicting what a black hole, if you were able to observe a black hole, kind of what that would look like. And because of the idea that the density of it is so strong that it literally warps space, right? Or this is what Einstein kind of alluded to, was like the concept of space-time. So if you're trying to figure out what the hell I'm talking about, the idea is if you were to take a bed sheet and stretch it out across, just stretch it taut, like on all around the bed, for example, or just hanging there. Let's say it's hanging there. That is the idea of it, just to think of like the plane of space. So then if you were to take, say, a cotton ball, well, it's not really going to deform the bed sheet at all. But say you were to take a bowling ball, well, a bowling ball is going to suck that thing down.
Yeah.
Like it's going to pull that blanket down. And so that is the idea of like the denser or the heavier something is, the more that it warps this plane of space. Now, in reality, it's a 3-dimensional thing. So, in this case, 4, if you're going to talk about time.
Right.
Because there is the faster you go and the further away you are, the faster that you go towards speed of light, time has a slight deviation. And there's some kind of funky things that can happen.
What is it?
With that.
The closer you are, the slower it is. The farther you are, the faster it is.
No, the faster you go, the slower technically, like
the slower time
has
goes.
like an effect.
Got it.
They've been able to measure this with atomic clocks to a certain degree.
Okay. Makes sense, right? You go faster, you slow time down.
Kind of. There's a lot of physics behind that I am not privy to.
Nah, I'm just gonna dumb it down. Faster you go, slower time goes.
Yep, it's the simplest way to think about it.
Done.
So that's the idea of like black holes. And so because of how dense black holes are, and if you've ever, if you can kind of like understand how like orbits work with gravity. When light would come in, depending on the angle that it comes in, it can bend and pull itself into essentially like the backside of it. And because we require light, because we can observe light, because that light bends and curves around. That's how we can actually like when you look at it, you're seeing the back of the black hole as well. And so Interstellar did a really great job at kind of depicting what this looks like. And then there's a YouTube channel called Veritasium. Highly recommend. It's so interesting. There's a lot of these channels, right? Like SciShow, Space in particular. Veritasium does it. And this was like when they were actually able to like take a picture of a black hole. But Veritasium specifically did this video explaining how light bends and moves around a black hole to kind of give this kind of weird look. And he talked about it before the image of the black hole actually was released, and it was like dead on.
Shit.
And he's like, I'd bet money that I'm correct on this, which he was.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's mathematical models to kind of figure out what this looks like. So it's like, it's super cool. But so with the light thing coming out of it, I haven't read on that.
Yeah. I don't know if it was coming out. I think what you were saying about how light is bending and pulling itself back in, that's probably what they're seeing, right? Is like the light refracting around the density of the hole and then shooting back from the back, because it's all like that's pretty much what the top of the article said, was like scientists are able to see with X-rays light particles at the back of it. So if it's at the back of it and it's how that guy said, then it's bending around and then coming back.
Yeah.
So
Potentially. Yeah. Right. And so then and with that, there's also this idea too with black holes, like there's, to a certain degree, there's a limit to the density that, as far as I'm aware, there's a limit to the density that it can be. And so like when you look at like collapsing stars, I don't remember the life cycles, but eventually they'll collapse in on themselves, collapse. And at a certain point they go
supernova.
They can go supernova, right? Or they can turn into, I think it's called a quasar. And so a quasar is essentially this density.
Is that after the dwarf phase?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't remember. I think it all depends on the size of the star at the very beginning, and the overall mass of it will dictate what it can turn into. And so you have like this quasar, and so the quasar is like an ultra massive, like a super dense collapsing star. But because the gravity is so strong that it's pushing all of these like atoms and stuff together, that it's essentially like squeezing and shooting out of the poles. And so it shoots out this like gamma radiation is kind of the big one. And you can observe quasars where you can actually see these they call it mass something ejections. And you can actually like visually see these like shots of like radiation being like coming out of the poles.
Jesus Christ.
And then the crazier one is there's something called a pulsar, which is essentially a quasar that is like rapidly spinning, and it makes sound. And you can hear like,
oh wow,
which is kind of cool. Space is insane.
Space is insane. What do you think is a higher priority, though? Understanding space or understanding our oceans?
Both.
Both?
I don't.
You wouldn't prioritize one over the other?
No, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, if we're gonna look at, I think from a utilitarian point of view, I think understanding the oceans as a whole is probably better, given that it's an active part of like
our ecosystem,
and our world. The one that I just find more intriguing is space. So just because the almost all of what we conceptualize about space is theory. Like there's a lot of this things that like we don't know. And I find that like just really intriguing. We don't know the size. We don't know the scope of space.
Yeah. The limit does not exist.
It doesn't. Like we don't know. We don't know if there is an edge. We don't know how far this thing goes. And like the idea of like eternity doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Right? Because we live in a very finite world. There's an edge to the table. Yeah. There's an end to our lives. Like,
and then even if you're a scientist, you believe in like black holes, like everything comes to an end because it's going to get sucked in there. Whether we survive it or not as this particle, like we won't be who we are if we get shot out the other side at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Right? Carl Sagan said it best. We're all byproducts of stars.
That's right. We're all gas star farts.
Yeah. So, but who knows, right? And then there's, the idea of like wormholes.
Yeah.
Right? Is a black hole such a deep, such a dense concept that warps space time to such a degree that it literally can pull your way through to another portion of space, right? Because if we're
that'd be cool,
right? And that's a working model that can exist. And I forget how that works.
We should send Jeff Bezos into a black hole so he could tell us.
Right. So the concept behind that one is like if you were to think of the universe as we know it, it's not necessarily three-dimensional, but more of a sphere. That a black hole would be kind of the idea is that it would be so dense that it would pull itself to, or sorry, it's not a sphere. Well, it is a sphere, but we're on the inside of it, not the outside. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the potential idea of what we're looking at. And so the idea is that the density of it essentially can pull its way so deep through to another point within this sphere that it opens up at another part somewhere in space. So that's under the idea that our model of the universe is circular, and we're looking into we're at the inside of it to a certain degree.
Yeah,
that's weird, man. That's weird stuff to think about.
It is, unless you're a flat earther, then you don't believe in any of it.
And then it's just a plane.
Yeah,
right. But yeah, that makes the Earth might be flat, but that doesn't necessarily. I don't know the argument if space is flat.
Hey, man, there's no space if the Earth is flat.
There has to be.
Nope.
I believe there is.
Nope.
I believe
a big old light bulb in the sky, bro.
Is this a light bulb?
Mm-hmm.
Right, but then you start looking at like simulation theory. Like, there's a good question about that. Like,
are we in a simulation?
Are we in a simulation?
Maybe.
It's hard to tell.
Are we in a simulation?
I don't know. We got to get red pilled and find out.
Oh, deja vu.
Or are we just batteries for our machine overlords?
I think it's that one.
You think we're batteries?
I'm pretty sure we're just batteries.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Right, and then like you talk about time, like
aliens.
Aliens. Right. Then you talk about like what's it called? It's like time travel, right? And there's this idea, right? We've kind of talked about how you can somewhat manipulate time closer to the speed of light that you go, but then, if time travel is real, then it already exists.
Yes. Okay, so now that we're on back around in the full circle to that, back to the question of time travel. Those like old photos, like historically speaking, there's been ideas or claims that people have traveled back into time and they've shown up in pictures wearing stuff from the future or having a cell phone. Like, do you think there's a small amount of truth to that, or do you think it's just all doctored in theory?
Maybe. But they're all black and white photos usually.
Yeah.
Right. So like you were saying, like the cell phone person from, I think it's the JFK assassination that they talk about. There's kind of a bunch of them, but I don't know. I want them to be real. I want them to be real. Yeah. So hopefully.
I think that'd be cool. I mean, because the idea of time travel has been around for a long time before us.
Yeah.
I got to believe that there's no way in hell somebody hasn't come up with it. We're just not being told.
Well, it's not so much about it being a thing now.
Yeah.
It's a thing about being in the future. And this
or
is under
the past.
It wouldn't be the past.
How do you know?
Because if we have to assume for this to work, we have to assume time is linear.
Then it's already happened.
And so it's linear in the sense that we're in our current reality.
Yeah.
Right. But go 1,000 years in the future, this thing has already happened. So if we're going that far into the future and time travel exists and somebody comes back in time, then there's an infinite, assuming an infinite distance of future that is available to us, where technology will progress to such a ridiculous point that we can't even conceptualize it. Then therefore, if the ability to time travel is a thing and people are already doing it in the future, there's a chance that as of today, somebody could have come back from that future point and be here. So therefore, would then in turn prove that time travel is a reality, but it's not a part of our current reality.
Boom, full circle, back to multiverse.
And the multiverse is, that wouldn't necessarily say that a multiverse is real, but the idea of like the spherical universe, then that we think about there's something outside of it.
Boom, spherical verse.
Right. So then if there's a spherical universe, which is kind of what they do in Marvel, is they conceptualize it as these bubbles.
Yeah.
Right. And they're denoted. Right. So like we're Earth 616.
Yeah.
So if there are these things, there are these like universes that exist kind of simultaneously in these big bubbles that we can theoretically travel to.
Yeah.
And they're just parallel to us in some degree or slight variations.
I wish they could have come back and last year and stopped this COVID shit, because that would have been cool.
Maybe they did. Maybe somebody was someone's like, I'm gonna try and kill Hitler, and then this is the butterfly effect that
damn, you do one good deed and then the next one is just,
and you somehow manage to make it worse.
You screw it up 40, 60, 80 years later.
Right? But, then the perils of time travel, which we've seen in like, a bunch of movies, for example, is like, if
don't change the future.
Don't change the past.
Don't change
because
don't
change
the past, because it could change the future. Don't talk to yourself.
Yep. Yeah. Don't be your own grandfather. Don't be your own dad or grandpa.
That would be weird. Yeah.
That's Back to the Future. All right, Eric. Where can people find us?
All right, you guys can find us at our Instagram, another_rep_podcast, or you can contact us via email at anotherreppodcast@gmail.com.
And you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Also find us on the YouTubes.
And you can call our booty line.
Occasionally and potentially see us on Twitch. Whenever,
in the future.
Yeah.
Or the past. Oh, shit. Jinx.
Did we just sync?
We did. We're in a simulation.
We're in a simulation. All right, bye.
Bye.